The Xenolink data view analysis for Peter Trainor. This is for hockey acceleration. We start by looking at the speed of center mass. You can see top end speed is actually pretty good, just above 6 meters per second. But acceleration is very much on the low side. The total number of frames or the total amount of time it takes to get to this peak speed is very high. So acceleration is very low, but top end speed is good on the high side of our normal range. But what this is telling us is that acceleration is not that good. We're going to take a look at our torso rotation, the relationship between pelvic rotation and upper thoracic creates that counter torque that produces a swing pattern, and it's not very good. You'll see that the torso and pelvis work together. There is some separation in this zone, but it's limited and it's not very effective, which means our swing through is going to be slow and not very effective, which is a big part of that acceleration process. So then we'll take a look at our knee flexion extension speed, predominantly the extension speeds. We see that in our first stride, knee speeds themselves are pretty high. The initial stride is about 327, 350. Then we go up into the mid 400s and low 400s. But the pattern is you'll see there's good extension speed, but very poor swing through speed. In fact, staying in extension through toe off, which is definitely going to slow the acceleration process down, and that's definitely related, at least in part, to that torso coordination issue. So we see pretty good output speeds, but slow to develop. So sort of the rate of force development, or the speed at which those velocities, or the acceleration, the time with which it takes to reach those peak velocities is too long, number one. And number two, the knees are continuing to extend through toe off, which is going to slow down the acceleration process. Hip flexion, extension, again, predominantly looking at extension, we see that the speeds are also very high. So in other words, the top end joint speeds are high, but the speed at which, or the time with which it takes to reach those peak speeds is slow. So we have good top end joint speeds, but the acceleration is limited. We also see that the right side timing is pretty decent. In other words, hip and knee extend virtually simultaneously. However, on the left side, we have the hip reaching peak velocity before the knee on the left side. So we have some issue with respect to our left side coordination. When we look at our general range of motion for the knee, it's pretty symmetric. We don't see anything really gross or glaring in terms of limited range of motion or function. And at the hip, when we look at the hip, again, nothing gross stands out in terms of limited range of motion or function. So really what we're looking at is improving the push-pull sequence, in particular the rate of development of speed, or the time with which it takes to reach that peak speed, and the pull mechanism, going from a quick extension into a very quick flexion prior to the skate coming off the ground, or prior to the swing through phase. And then secondarily, we want to look at the left side, which has some coordination issue between the hip and the knee.